Okay, hello everyone, and how are you today? This is the video of video clip of part 3 of the story 300 pesos. អូខេសួស្តីអ្នកទាំងអស់គ្នាសមាជិកទេថ្ងៃនេះណានេះគឺជាវីដេអូឃ្លីបនៃសាច់រឿងរបស់យើងបន្តវាអាចជាវីដេអូឃ្លីបនៃភាពបញ្ចប់នៃរឿង300 pesos ណាគឺ part 3 Okay, let's go together. And how was it for how will it be for these parts, and what's going on in the stories next. 300 peso part 3. During the winter of that year, Anastasio earned 50 pesos by buying and then selling some horses. By spring, he had 250 pesos. He needed just 50 pesos more to have the amount he wanted. He did not see his brother or his sister anymore, but he heard from the neighbors that they were well and happy. I hope they never bother me again, he said to himself. When spring came, the snow in the mountains melted and ran in streams down into the valleys. Then Anastasio planted his fields. This time Anastasio planted in pinto beans. He had heard they would sell for a high price because there had been a shortage of pinto beans the season before. No one saw Anastasio or Summers. He spent all of his time in the field. All day he worked in the field, and at night he slept there to guard it against ships and other possible dangers. In the fall, Anastasio harvested his pinto beans. He put them in open wooden boxes and loaded them into his wagon. He had a large crop of fine beans ready to sell. He left for the village. He hoped to sell the beans for 50 pesos. This would give him the amount he needed, 300 pesos at least. Yes, it would be his best winter. He could buy a store with the money. On cold winter days, he would sit near the fire. He would have very detailed work to do and plenty to eat. Although he had pleasant thoughts, Anastasio was not a happy man. Many things bothered him. He would have to guard his store very carefully, and he was worried about Berta and Emilio. They would think he was making a large profit. He would beg him for money. They would think that the food in his grocery store was free. They would think he should share it with them. Yes, all of these things worry Anastasio. Anastasio drove along a narrow, winding road. It rose higher and higher before it descended into the valley. where he planned to sell his beans. Anastasio finally reached the top of the road. His horses were exhausted from pulling the heavy load, but Anastasio was impatient to get to the valley. He started down at once, urging on his tired horses. With a snap of the reins, Anastasio turned around the curve as he went downhill. Suddenly he was struck from behind by a fast-moving horseless wagon. The driver did not see Anastasio in time to stop. He hit the back of Anastasio's wagon, breaking off the piece of wood that held the boxes of beans in place. This frightened the horses. He jumped up. They jumped up, tipped the wagon, and threw Anastasio into the air. He fell heavily against the trunk of the tree, hitting his head and his chest with great force. The frightened horses ran wildly along the road and scattered beans everywhere. Anastasio was dazzled, but he looked ahead and saw that the horses had finally stopped by some trees near the home of his brother Emilio. Anastasio turned around. He saw that except the broken boat, the wagon was not damaged. The horses did not seem to be hurt either. This was good, but he had lost his crop again. All of his boxes had been thrown out of the wagon. Beans were all over the ground and in the ditch next to the road. At this moment, the man in the horseless wagon returned. He apologized for causing the accident. Then he saw all the beans along the road and asked him how much they were worth. 50 pesos, gasped the unhappy Anastasio. Is a deal? Said the traveler, handing over the money. He was glad to pay this amount and avoid further trouble. Anastasio Pere was satisfied. When he was alone again, he took the leather bag from his belt. He held the bag in one hand and the 50 pesos in the other. There were 250 pesos in the bag, and now he had 50 pesos more. He could buy the stores at last. He was a rich man. He sighed and sat down on the stump of a tree. His head ached and his chest burned from the blow he had received. It was so hard to breathe. Suddenly he fell forward and lay very still in the warm sunshine. Three large black birds circled slowly above him. Anastasio's horses stopped a short distance from a field where Emilio and Berta were working. It was a warm morning. The crop was good and they were very happy. Look, shouted Emilio. Those are our brother's horses. But where is Anastasio? Asked Berta. Let's go and see, said Emilio. They hurried up the road together. Soon they came to the body of their brother. It was lying so still. They knew he was dead. Poor Anastasio, exclaimed Amelio. What terrible thing has happened to you? Poor brother, cried Berta. I remember when you were a little boy, how we loved you then. Amelio took the money back and the pesos from his brother's clenched hands. Amelio gave the money back to Berta and looked at the peso. There's so much money here, he said when he had finished counting 50 pesos. Berta opened the bag and looked out the money and took out the money. 250 pesos more. She gasped in astonishment. 300 pesos? They exclaimed together. What beautiful funerals he will have. Okay, this is the end of these stories. The, the last part of the stories. So thanks very much. Uh, Thank you very much for listening to my reading, and don't forget, try to read the text more, and at the end of these stories we all will have the questions again. Okay, thank you very much. See you in next videos.